going on? It's Asher coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not alone, joined by Deadwood Jedi. Deadwood, what's up, man? How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. It's always a blast to be here, and thanks for having me on. Yeah,
it is always a blast to have you. It's funny, I fused Helicath today, or as you call him, Hellcat.
Hellcat.
He's a beast, man. He's a beast. Can we
make this a thing? I want this to just travel.
I mean, you really committed to the name, dude. Like, you even title all your videos Hellcat. So that's commitment right there, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, you also put out a video yesterday, yesterday, ranking the top or ranking all the unkillable champions in the game. He ranked highly, but I will not spoil it, and I'll include that video for everybody to check out in the description below. That's what we call a teaser here in the biz. But
professional, guys.
Yeah.
He's kidding, right?
Where do you see this guy being used? Basically, is it really anywhere and everywhere that someone might need a good progression champion?
Yeah, that was going to be my answer, actually.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. I mean, where can't you use this champion? I mean, if you think about him, he's very similar to, Roshkar the Tower, and he's very similar to Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Two amazing champions that we have in the game, but he takes some of the best parts of both of them, puts it together, right? You got the block damage for 2 turns. You've got the massive shield for 2 turns, right? And with that, you're talking about almost complete coverage of your entire team for the entire fight. I mean, it isn't complete, but it's pretty darn close. And so there's not really anything else to ask for in his kit. So that's primarily what he's going to be useful for. I mean, of course, there's a reason why Helicath ranks really high on my list, why we're all so excited to use him, is because he does bring some other things to the table, right? It's not just that protection. This dude hits. This dude slaps.
Yeah,
I mean, really
man.
hard.
Yeah, like that devoted servants, the counterattack, the Feast of Agony on the passive. Every single time an ally's hit while under block damage, I mean, that really adds up, over the course of a long battle. And not to mention, he brings a big version of Weaken. He has really decent multipliers. I mean, I totally agree. It's a shame that today we're going to run him in a clan boss team that you kind of highlighted on your channel a few days ago. But it's a shame because it's going against a Magic Affinity on Ultra Nightmare today, because his damage would be so much better had it not been the case. But either way, we're both a big fan. Have you actually fused him yet on your account, or are you close?
I did. Okay. So I've been, did most of my videos testing on the test server, and then it basically ended like 4 or 5 hours earlier than it was supposed to. They had some technical issues, and it kind of messed me up. So I was like, well, I got to rush and fuse this guy so I can do a couple more videos. So I do have some more builds I'm going to be doing coming up. But I mean, the interesting thing about Hellcat, I keep getting asked the same kind of questions about him, is like, hey, can I use this person with X champion? Can I use them in X kind of team? And it's like, generally what's going to happen with this champion is you're going to use them just like you would Roshkar the Tower or Sir Nicholas. There's not a lot of difference with it. Yeah, I mean, you can see on my website there, I have, when you search for champions, you search for Hellcat, there's going to be a lot of other teams associated with that. It's the reason why is because he can really just drop in for those champions, right? The 2-turn block damage is the big deal with him.
Is it safe to say that anytime, any comp that you use the tower, you just sub him in and you're getting at least a weekend and more damage? For the most part.
100%. 100%. Like, immediately he's a better champion than Roshkar the Tower simply because of the debuffs that he brings.
Poor Roshkar, huh, man? Poor that guy's like, he's done. He's dead for the stake of him. Then he's a buff now.
It's rough. It's rough.
I love to be alone. I am like the best at it. I just love when you're sitting there in a room and you're just there with your thoughts and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm alone. Anyone ever love me or whatever? And like, do I know anyone who would care if I just ever came out of this room or not, or whatever? And like, I don't know, it's just peaceful. I just like it.
Man, I gotta say, this is my first time using your website, deadwoodjedi.com, guys. All the links will be in the show notes below. But man, you spruce things up quite a bit here. I like that you have the key potential, the affinities it works for, the difficulty. Really, really love the new site, man. Massive props.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're really proud of it. I was fortunate enough to team up with HH Gaming. They kind of believed in the stuff that I'm doing too. They helped me to get my website, into the 21st century. We moved from 1998 to 2020, so that's good, I think. if you want to see how this team would work on Spirit, you can actually test that now ahead of time, which is really great. So
dude,
a lot of cool things and changes coming to that side.
Definitely, as far as clan boss goes, and in speed tuning in general, it's definitely the best resource out there, guys. So definitely check it out. So Helicath, I decided to make one of the teams that you shared, right? Because I was like, you know what, this seems like a really fun team. I've honestly hated on Narma. Like I've always been kind of underwhelmed by Narma the Returned, right?
Yeah,
she's not awful. Like, I mean, she has a good kit for clan boss, but like, it's not meta, right? It's not like poison's not really meta right now. However, she really works and does well in this team. This is the first time I've actually been happy with Narma the Returned. So
yeah,
really excited about it. But let's start with Helicath. I guess whatever team you're running him on, masteries wise, are you basically just going this like a typical support if you need the HP, accuracy, and War Master, or are you switching things up, and are you running it differently depending? Do you prefer defense or support? Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. I mean, the truth of the matter is it's not going to make an impact on your team. The fact is that you just want to avoid the traditional things you avoid in a clan boss team. That's speed tuned, right? Avoid arcane celerity, avoid rapid response, avoid cycle of magic, and avoid cycle of violence, or cycle of revenge. I'm sorry. But anything that affects turn meter, right? Or changes up the order of your skills. Those are things you want to avoid. But like as far as Hellcat goes, I think what you have here is an ideal solution, right? Now, Hellcat can take the stun, specifically in this build. So that's certainly an option that you could do. I know you took Steadfast. I would not take Steadfast where I wanting to let him take the stun. You can get the extra accuracy from some of the other support tree stuff. This is not a bad build though. This works great. And yes, taking shield breaker was a brilliant idea. That's definitely, I think that's something I didn't even do in my videos, and that's a really smart thing to make those shields bigger. That is great. And going down the support tree all the way to Master Hexer to extend those debuffs, I think that's all fine. Chances are he has his own counterattack anyway, so it's not like going down the defensive tree, and you're blocking damage, so you're not getting the free counterattacks most of the time. You could, if you're tanking the stun, go down all the way to get the counterattack for the stun when that lands. But yeah, the deterrence, that could be good for him.
And when building him, if you were going to put him in a 4-piece set, what would you put him in?
If I was going to put him in a 4-piece set?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no way to answer that and not get in trouble. Change the subject.
Putting you on the spot.
Savage. I mean, like
just maximize damage. Okay, so there's no right or wrong sets, basically.
No, I mean the big thing with him, right? You obviously want some accuracy so you can land your debuffs. That's big, and you want as much defense as possible, right? If you can make the speeds. After that, you just want to stack the defense, because the bigger his defense, the bigger the shield. He's kind of simple in that sense. I mean, obviously you want crit rate, you want crit damage, because he does hit super hard. So if
you want everything with this dude.
Definitely build that in.
Yeah. I mean, not everything, but you need, to your point, defense, speed, crit rate, crit damage, and accuracy. So not maybe the easiest champion to build, but perception obviously is going to be great on this champion. Defense, I have 2 perceptions and a defense on him, and the total stats. I tuned him for the team that you shared, right? So let's take a look at the team. Maybe you can kind of set the table here, Deadwood, and tell us, it's not like a new team aside from Helicath, but I want you to kind of talk a little bit about why you decided to share it and why you like it. It took me about 9 keys.
There's a new study from the journal Trends in Genetics. I don't know what it is either, but they suggest that humans may be getting dumber. And get this, they spelled dumber with a B. Morons.
To get this team to work, and I will share with folks like the mistakes that I made after, but for first, talk a little bit about this team here.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, I mean, one of the great things about Hellcat is, and this is the reason why I'm so big on this champion, is because Hellcat gives you a massive shield. And we have builds already out there. Generally, they're called Tower Skull Crusher teams, and those are on the website. I have, variations like this are named under Hellcat, so it's a little bit easier for you guys to figure out. But generally, you're using Roshkar the Tower to block damage for 2 turns, and then you have Skull Crusher to soak up the stun with his unkillable ability. Now, that only covers himself, doesn't cover his team. And so that team can be a little bit trickier, right? When you face Affinity, it won't always go where you want it to go, and, you have to change some things up sometimes. With Hellcat, you don't have to worry about that. It's really simple, because the block damage covers your team for both AoEs, and then the shield covers the stun. That's the basics behind this, right? That's why I love this type of team. Now with this one, we have Narma going at a 4-3 ratio. So all of a sudden, Narma, who, like you said, is a kind of a subpar clan boss kit. It's actually a good kit, but the problem is it's on a 4-turn cooldown, and that really makes it subpar for what we want. Now all of a sudden she's quality champion for this. We can bring in Tatura and prioritize that A2 ability to block the debuffs as they land, so we can actually stay affinity friendly and not worry about the stun really affecting us, right? And then you still have 2 more DPS after that. So the reason why Helicath's so good is with one single champion, we're able to build an entire unkillable team, which means the other 4 can focus on damage. And then on top of that, Helicath himself can really focus on damage and do good work. So that allows you to really bring in all the damage potential of your team and your champions to the table, and you can get really good results in a very fast team.
Yeah, and I think that's the coolest thing about Helicath, right? Is he gives you that ability to actually, 1 key or 2 key, whatever, and not have to waste 45 minutes or an hour of your day, right? Like you can make a big damage team, which I love. That's like the coolest thing about this champion. It gives you that flexibility to just stack up some DPS. And I want to kind of, mention right now that on all these champions here, you'll see the stats. They're not bad. They're kind of around the same that you had on your video, but they're certainly not godlike. I maximized, I crit capped them all at 100 or so. But other than that, they're all right. The stats are all right. So I could definitely, what I'm saying is there's a lot of damage on the table here that I could max as well. So I went with Jintoro. You went with Saito in your video. I swapped out him for Jintoro at 193 speed. I
would too.
I have Tatura at 191, the slowest on the team, and then 193 as well on Thylicia. And then we have Narma at 248, the fastest on the team, and then 241 on Helicath. Other than that, other than those speeds, that's all we're concerned about, right? It's just maximizing damage for the most part.
That's it, really. I mean, that's the best part about this is you are unkillable now.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I know you're going to talk about the stun targeting, which can have a little bit of impact, right? You do have to be conscious of how you're building your champions to a certain degree. But generally, especially if you're using attack-based champions, all you really have to worry about is putting damage on them, because naturally they will be a solid stun target for you. You don't generally have to worry about that. But yeah, this is why I love this. It's easy. I mean, really, it's easy. And, the great part about teams like this, as opposed to something like Budget Unkillable, there's every single champion is at a speed that you can use in other content. So you're not restricted from using them just for clan boss. You can bring them into any of your dungeon runs, and they should be a pretty good match for that, right?
Yeah. So true. Like all of these champions, I can use their build, to your point, anywhere, basically. So what I was screwing up on, Deadwood, you mentioned it, is Tatura Rhymehide. He was being targeted. He wasn't taking the stun because he had his block debuffs. The problem is I built him with too much HP and totally spaced out. He reminded me that the damage of the A1 of the clan boss is based on their max HP. So I need to have as little HP as possible on the stun target to keep him alive. I also threw him in regeneration gear just because going against magic affinity, he was dying at turn 30 or so for me. So I decided to make him a little bit, because he has 2 turns to recoup some HP because of the unkillable. So I decided to make him, I got as low as I could at 41k HP, but you said you prefer 35k or so or less.
Yeah, I mean, the difference in damage is drastic based off the amount of HP you have. So I think I did a video using all rare champions in one of these teams, and I believe it was Grave Chill Killer or Frozen Banshee that took the stun, had 28,000 HP, lasted 50 turns, right? It doesn't matter.
Dang, yeah.
Because the HP is so low, the damage is based off of that. Well, the shield is not. So the shield can be the same size, but the damage you're taking is less, and you're soaking up. That shield is able to soak up more rounds of hits. So generally trying to keep that HP as low as possible is advantageous, which is why I said attack-based champions are great, because they usually have pretty low base HP. It's not a big deal, right?
Yep.
I bet you Thylicia would be a much better stun target. Jintoro would be a better stun target for you.
Yep.
And it's just, not anything special going on there. It's just, look at Thylicia has 28,000 HP.
Yeah.
Right? She's even with 2,000 defense compared to Tatura's 6,000, it won't matter. She'll still survive probably longer as a result. So
definitely something to take note of if your block debuffs champion is dying, from those A1s of the clan boss.
If any of your stun targets are dying, try to think about lowering that HP. That max
it's a
HP.
Good call. Yeah.
Probably aiming around 30,000, but really you can go super low and get pretty good results. Take off a ring, take off a headpiece, whatever you need to do.
And all these champions, we kind of mentioned this, but just as it bears repeating, every single one of these champions, aside from Helicath himself, is replaceable, right? Like there's nothing, there's no crucial role on this team. So, because I imagine there's going to be a lot of comments, can I use this champion or that champion? All you need is a block debuffs, in DPS, right? I mean, that's it. That's it. Okay.
No,
okay.
100%. That's all you really need in this team. And, you can even get away with using like a Grizzled Jarl or something. You can tank the stun. You don't have to block debuffs on the stun either if you get it going to the right champion. So it's an Ultra Nightmare more centric team, but it does work on Nightmare, and generally will work with a cleanser as opposed to debuff champion. So you can just alter your team slightly to make that work, but it's very flexible, this kind of a build.
Heck yeah, man. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out the team here. Again, it's a shame. You got a lot more damage than I did, but you were going against Void, and I caught it late, unfortunately. So Magic, we'll see what we can do here, but just kind of talk us through what's going on. I won't make you talk for 10 minutes. We'll cut. But yeah, so what's happening here, Deadwood?
Yeah, if only it took you only 7 keys. I think we could have hit that Void number.
Man, right? Oh, God.
Are you stupid?
Yeah, but this team is, it's surprisingly simple, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have Hellcat's going to place that block debuff before that first AoE. Now, really, I suppose like the basics of this team, you have 2 champions going at a 4-3 ratio. In this build, you have Narma going twice, right before the stun, going first and going last in that turn order. And then on the other side, you have Hellcat doing the same thing right before the AoEs, going first and going last. Now, it does take a turn or 2. Actually, I have it pulled up here. I think it should sync up relatively soon, right?
I think you said 4 or 6, maybe. I think
turn 6, something like that. Turn 4 or 6, right? So you're getting those alternating double turns, and the reason why that's important and where those occur is because between those double turns, you have 2 AoE attacks from the clan boss. So by having Hellcat go last right before that first AoE, that unkillable, that block damage covers everybody for the first one because fresh, right? It's still up for 2 turns. And then everybody takes 1 turn and it's still up because it's a 2-turn duration.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now you have the stun. And the reason why you can get away with that 4-3 champion taking the double turn is because the block damage is going to fall off anyway. But of course, the way that this champion Hellcat works also is going to place that massive shield right between the AoEs. We think we should see it right there.
Right there, yep.
And now we have this huge shield helping us soak up the damage from the stun. Well, we just have to last 50 turns. So if the damage from the clan boss is low enough, if our defense is high enough, everybody has increased defense. Now we have that massive shield. We can survive that stun hit as well just by taking it straight out, right?
Yeah.
And so that's advantageous. Now, there's obviously some interesting things going on, right? Like, I think Tatura ended up getting like a random shield for 1 turn duration.
Blood shield accessory, I think. Is it replacing the shield of Helicath?
It looks like it is replacing the shield of Hellcat.
Well, that would explain. That would explain why he's dying, issue, right? Oh my God!
All this for nothing.
But we can take that as a great lesson here, because even taking that damage, right? Even if Tatura dies earlier, it doesn't mean the team's not working. It's actually working perfectly. It's just now we have to make some slight adjustments to get it to work the way we want it to work, right? And to last a little bit longer. So that can mean as simple a thing as dropping some of his HP or upping his defense or making sure the stun goes to a different target. Maybe we substitute one of the other champions for someone else that's green affinity, but is going to be a better stun targets for us, right? Do you have a Ferric in the Fat? I mean, that could be a great option to use there for that stun target, right?
Yeah.
He mitigates that damage anyway. So like there's definitely options as far as how to deal with this, but the shield from Hellcat it becomes a nice way because you're able to survive all 50 turns with that extra, buffer for the damage. And that's really the key going on there.
I can't believe that's what's screwing me up, man. It's gotta be the blood shield replacing the stupid blood shield ring or whatever, replacing the shield. I didn't even think about that,
It might be, I'm honestly not 100% sure, but that certainly, it certainly appeared that way. I don't know if any of the other champions place a shield. That is something to be careful about. If you have like a Kreela on your team, you need to be careful. But as long as the shield from Hellcat has a longer duration, that's not going to be an issue. So if you do bring in someone that replaces shields, try to have them go first so that the shield that they have from Hellcat is the longest duration on the team, right? And then it shouldn't replace it. But
what about
even with that?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, Tatura's a tank. Like should last pretty well, especially with the healing that you've put in the kit already, right?
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask about Kyoku. Have you tried I actually saw a few comments on your video asking for this. Have you tried or thought about trying a Kyoku Helicath team?
It isn't something that I've really thought about doing, but I mean, it's certainly possible. You know what? Actually, that's a good point. I get so many comments on this. It's definitely something. I'll just do one. It's not. I feel like it's a little bit duplicative, right? They both bring the same debuff. They both do good damage, so it's not a bad thing to have Kyoku in there with Hellcat, but they both bring the same debuff. They're both there to kind of keep your team alive.
It's a little redundant.
I'm not so sure if they're a perfect combination, right?
Yeah, do you need both? Do you necessarily need both, you know?
See, that's the question. I don't really think you do at all, actually.
Yeah,
I don't think that they...
Now they think of it, right?
Well, I would say the one benefit is that you're building more damage dealers, right? Kyoku's one of the hardest hitting defensive champions, and so's Hellcat, as far as I can tell. So by having the two of them, you're definitely having damage and in a defense focus, which helps you bring in the right buffs for your team. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you can even utilize Kyoku to protect your stun target further by utilizing ally protection, right? So you're helping to accentuate or accessorize the shield. I don't know what the word is for that, but you're helping to balance out the shield that you're getting from Hellcat as well, and really ensuring that you can build your champions however you want, and they're not going to die, right? Extra damage, extra shield damage plus ally protection is going to be great.
Awesome, man.
But I think there's better champions to pair Helicat with, right? And I think the perfect champion is Martyr, because you're getting that decreased defense, you're getting that, increased defense, decreased defense, and counterattack, which is all the things that you really want on your team. I don't think there's a better pairing than that. The only other champion that I would say would come close, I think, is actually one that I still don't have, is Farrak and the Fat. I think it's fantastic.
Man, dude, he's evading you, huh, dude? Yeah, you came on
so
the channel
bad.
Like a year ago and said you wanted that dude. I feel like maybe 6 months ago.
So bad.
Oh my god,
but it's good.
man.
I like having that one champion I can't get, because I feel like it makes people feel better.
Right, that elusive epic champion. Yeah. I had Deacon Armstrong was mine for so long, man. Like I could not get my hands on Deacon, and eventually I did. Have they done like a 10-time Farrak and the Fat yet? Have they done that?
Not to my knowledge. I think that's the only thing I have left to wail on is getting Farrak.
All right, well, hey, we'll come back at you guys when we die here. But you guys can see that, you know, right now we'll keep an eye on that shield too. We'll see if that's screwing things up. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, here we are, turn 49. Tatura just went down a turn ago, and Deadwood brought up something interesting while we were kind of taking a break there. Talk to us about turn team order.
Yeah, so team order, right? We're talking about the stun and where it goes, and you notice that Tatura had died basically on the very last stun that was given, right?
Yeah.
Almost lasted for the entirety of the fight. And so, you know, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that we survive it. Well, the problem with Tatura being the block debuff champion, he's actually, you know, going last between those AoEs, and basically the shield from Hellcat's going on, and then Tatura takes a turn. And then, you know, before the stun, Tatura's going to take another turn, and that shield's going to fall off. So I was like relaying to Ash that by changing the team order, you're changing the stun priority, right? The clan boss, let's say everything's equal, right? Everybody has the same HP, everybody has the same buffs. Clan boss is going to stun the leader of your team first, then the second champion you put in, and the third champion, and so forth. So, like in the present setup that Ash just switched around there, Jintoro is going to be the primary champion if everything's equal. But with Affinity, obviously going to be going for weak Affinity champions. That means anybody that's green. Well, that's Tatura and that's Hellcat. With the way you have it set up now, Hellcat's going to be the one taking that stun, and that's good for us. The reason why, we're still blocking the debuff, so we don't have to worry about our tune getting thrown out of whack, right? And then we also have that shield, and that's going to be massive because Hellcat's going to still have Hellcat's shield on themselves, so shouldn't throw anything off. Now, the one thing you're going to want to check, Ash, this is going to be really important. The one thing you're going to want to check is in the setup phase of this build, right? In the first couple turns, you need to make sure Hellcat doesn't get stunned. Now, it doesn't mean can't take the stun. It doesn't mean, actually, doesn't really mean can't be stunned. But because of that, because what, you know, Hellcat's doing is keeping us alive, the first couple rounds of the clan boss cycle it's not going to really affect anything. But you do need to make sure that once we are in sync by turn 6, that the skills and abilities are happening at the right time. So that will probably take a little bit of adjustment just for spirit affinity or blue affinity, whatever affinity he's getting hit on, right? Because he does take it. My guess is he's probably going to burn through the block debuff in that first cycle, right? When it first happens. So, or, the other option is you can wait on Tatura's block debuff and time that out just to deal with the stun.
Let's see what happens. Okay, so here we go. We're in it. Let's see if anything happens here.
So my guess is Tatura's going to be, or Helicath's going to take the stun here and actually be stunned, which will throw off the timing of things. So that's really what I'm expecting. And typically, I'm not sure if we're going to actually need to make any adjustments for that, but that's kind of what I'm interested to see here.
All right, let's take a look. Right now, it's still Tatura.
Still Tatura?
Yep. Is it the veil? Why is Tatura? Because I tried putting Cleopatrix in there. Yeah.
You have a steadfast mastery on Helicath.
Oh, okay.
The clan boss likes to avoid steadfast.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll take that off. We'll try again.
Key 11 coming up.
This is the beauty of Clan Boss, though. Like, you can always tweak and fine tune and find something that is affecting something else that, leads to overall better damage, better result. So I guess we can cap it here. We can just keep experimenting all day. Deadwood, thank you so much for coming on, man. We're both super excited about Helicath. Really, really cool champion. Hopefully you guys went for the fusion. Any final words, Deadwood?
No, man. I mean, honestly, I just always appreciate being able to come on, and your audience is great. I love hearing from them. Love hearing from you. So yeah, this is fun to talk about. I always enjoy it. So can't wait till the next time.
The pleasure is always mine, my friend. Guys, make sure you check out Deadwood's information, his Twitch channel, his YouTube channel, his Twitter information, his website. Everything else I can pull up on this guy will be in the show notes below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.